What are the expectations for Liverpool this season? Because they've been such a tough couple of years. I guess no one even knows what they're aiming for at this point.
It's unfair to say Brendan Rodgers is unfashionable because he obviously did a great job last season with Swansea, but definitely not a major player, which is what you would normally expect one of the major clubs to be aiming at. But it comes with a sort of inevitable freshness, which I think is useful on the back of the Dalglish period, but it's inevitable with Dalglish that you're going to get... it was always an emotionally slightly complex scenario for them because there's so much feeling about Dalglish and his past that he was always going to be indulged in the way that few other managers would. So there is, I think it suits Liverpool in a sense to have a situation where people are just hoping that the only way is up really in all departments. Then there's the issue about how the players who came in this time last year, and one wouldn't say any of them have really been an unqualified success as regards the particularly the British players that came in at quite expense. It's how they can push on and whether they can prove themselves to be Liverpool players, in a more authentic manner. This season is a really interesting one, and you would expect, on the whole, for Brendan Rodgers to be going in there with a clean slate. Although it looks like, from Andy Carroll's point of view, that maybe he's been prejudged or a little bit more harshly treated. There doesn't seem to be that much willingness from that point of view to see what he could offer. And
I think you alluded to there that one of the most remarkably alarming statistics probably from Liverpool's season on the face of it is 47 goals scored, which is less than Blackburn managed on the way to relegation. And I think that really sort of stood out for me, and they hit the post a phenomenal amount of times. Do you think there's some room there? And I'm not talking about a dramatic necessarily change. Do you think there's some room there for improvement purely by dint of luck shifting? You know, you've had such bad breaks over a season, maybe in that sense, that there's some room for things to get better just because. They
need to find a groove, definitely. Liverpool were in a kind of a bad habit, if you like, last season, and I think if they can get into some good habits this season, that will be very significant for them. When you're looking at also a player like Suarez, I mean, who knows what kind of season he can have this year. Obviously, last season was so bizarrely disrupted in what occurred on and off the field for him that you'd have to hope from a Liverpool point of view that he could just go out there and totally focus on his football, and there isn't really that much that's going to be a distraction for him, because he's obviously capable of being a really influential Premier League player.
And what's interesting now is going to be seeing how he interacts with Fabio Borini, who's coming from Serie A, and he had obviously a great season for Roma. I think he's an interesting player in that I find him a little bit streaky. He went through a period where he scored 7 goals in 8 games, but I believe that after that, sort of mid-March, he didn't score again until the end of the season. So he is prone to getting into these runs, but he's also exactly the player, perhaps, that if your issue is just connecting ball with net, he's the right sort of player that you need. And obviously, part of why he's there, it relates to the fact that Rodgers knows him and has always thought very highly of his qualities. But I do think we saw at Roma last season, he's a player who, more than technical ability, possesses a very good sense of when to arrive where and where to be in those moments to score goals. And perhaps that makes some difference to them as well in that regard. Another new face, as well as Borini, of course, the new Lionel Messi, better than Lionel Messi, I believe, as Steven Gerrard had it. Joe Cole is returning.
Yeah, and who are we to disagree with Steven Gerrard? Yeah, I mean, it's again, we talk a lot about Liverpool and expectations and how perhaps they've redrawed a little bit where they think they should be, and I think with Joe Cole there probably isn't quite the same level of expectation after his loan period with Lille than when he originally arrived. So I suppose that anything they get from Joe Cole is probably going to be viewed as a bit of a bonus.
How important is it that they hit the ground running this season?
Well, when you look at their fixture list, it looks like it's very important because they have a pretty daunting set of fixtures fairly early on. There's all 4 Champions League teams are in their opening group of fixtures, both Manchester teams, Arsenal and Chelsea, plus they have a local derby against Everton and Newcastle. So I think that really, if they're going to show that this is a brave new world, as well as obviously picking up some good results in that period, they perhaps be good if they could actually give a sort of hallmark performance to show what this new Liverpool team under Brendan Rodgers is going to be about.